Hello, this is Max Drake. I just want to talk to you about AutoHotKeys. Now, this was a little challenge that I actually had, which is a Revit schedule. So it's a specific thing, and if I want to fill it out, it's a bit like a spreadsheet. The only problem is if I select 3 or 4 cells or whatever, I can't actually populate them all themselves. I can take that one and whatever's been put in before, I can select it and do it, but I've got to do it cell by cell. So doing that is a very tedious way to actually populate a whole lot of information into here. There are methods of doing it, but one of the common ways of doing it is you actually take this schedule, you export it into Excel, you populate it in Excel, and then you re-import it in, and it populates those particular cells that you actually want, or those parameters that you're actually doing. I'd seen a video where they had actually used a method of doing this, which was using AutoHotKey. So I'm just going to show you how that actually happening. So I'm using another AutoHotKey app, and I'll show that shortly. But if I just go Control D, it comes up here, and I'm just going to do this particular one here. Now this means I can cycle around through all of these ones and select whatever one I want. So this is a nice little function trigger, because of the fact that you keep your right hand on the mouse. So it's good for designers. So I think it's a brilliant little tool. Anyway, we bang onto that, and what it does is it said, go and tell me the CSV that you want to actually populate it. So I've got a populated thing that I can put it there, and it says how many columns across have I got. So I'm going to say it's 6 columns across, and then it's going to go and start taking the information from the CSV and start populating that file down there. So basically what it's doing is taking from the CSV, tabbing across for the cell, putting something through, gets to the end, instead of doing a tab, it's doing an enter, so I'm going down to the cell below. So when it gets to the end, it goes down 1 cell, and then I use Shift Tab, and I go back 5, and then I carry on populating again. So there's a whole lot of pauses through there. Now, when it actually says how many columns across, it has a pause there of 15,000 milliseconds or so there, 1.5 seconds, to allow you to make sure you put your cursor in the right cell that you want to start with. Now, once I've written that script, it sort of works inside here, and that's quite good. But it's also transportable. I can actually come into Excel. I can go and find that script again. I can't use the Control D, because if I'm in here, the Control D, I've actually got this so that this, another nice thing in AutoHotKey, you can say only work in Revit. So if I'm actually in Excel, Control D doesn't bring that pop-up menu up. Now, I could end up saying you work in there and in there, but at this point in time, I'm not doing that. So I'm just going to pick a cell through there. I'm going to go and find the actual script. Oh, now I've actually lost it, so I'm going to actually have to go and find that. Oh, blast, wrong one. And Revit scripts, there it is. And it's this one through here. So it's going to run that script, and now it's asking me for the file through there. So I'm just going to pop up the Excel again in behind. I'm going to choose the same file and go OK, and it says how many columns, and you see it's got 1500 milliseconds delay, so it's just telling me how long that I've got. I've got 6 columns. I'm going to go OK and put myself in a specific cell, and there it actually goes and populates and does exactly the same thing. So something that was a solution for one program, I can use in another one as long as it is. So it's got a transportability about it. So therefore, something that I've got in Revit schedules, which is a sort of an Excel-y spreadsheety type thing, I could use in a data table. So if I've got a database with some tables that needed populating, and I've got CSV files, I can go and do that. You might need to be a bit careful about your primary keys and stuff. It works in here. It would work in Google Scripts, and it would work in, if you got a Word and you had a table that you were actually trying to populate, it would work into something like that. So one little bit of code, rather being specific for one thing, it's a bit like cut and paste. It works in a lot of programs as well. But this could be doing 1,000 lines. It could be, and each one could be very variable. This is just an example through here. So this is one of the powers that I see of AutoHot Script. So I've done a previous one, and I'm just going to do a bit of a demo through here. And one of the things I'm going to do quickly in here is actually just go and kill a whole lot of things through here. So I'm just going to go in, and I'm using Visual Studio Code because of the fact that it's just what I'm used to, but I will talk about another program shortly. Now this is just one little hotkey script that I'm actually going to run, and I'm going to type one called F1, and this one here pops up. Now I've actually designed this for other things, like this. I've got my normal hotkeys going through here, so I've got a thing like a hotkey in here. So if I do Control Alt D, it'll actually just play, instead it'll write somewhere out there, it'll actually say, if I write Control Alt D, it sends the input drag at hotmax. What I can also do is, I'm a lefty, and I normally work on laptops, so on the right hand side is the enter key, but I'm a lefty, so I've remapped the tilde key so that it's actually enter. So that's the tilde key being tapped to actually work as enter instead of that. It also does a thing called auto expand. So if I just do HW and go enter, it remaps from HW to hello world. Now you can do something like RX, no, it should just do that straight away, RX. Oh no, it's not doing it itself for some reason, doesn't like it. If I come into a text one through here and just go RX, no, it's not doing it there. Oh, sorry, the program's died. I've got to rerun that program. And if I go RX, it auto expands to this one through here. Now, the other thing with this is that when I click on this one here, I've still got that running. Yeah, so I'm in wherever, and I go F1. Oh, okay then. So I come back over to here. I shouldn't do it. So Alt D. Am I still? Something's happened there, so I'm just going to cancel out, run it again, and go F1. When I do the F1, it does this pop up through here. Now here's another tool that I actually use, is that I just press this and it's going to open up 7 tabs of different email spaces, tabs that I do. In the morning I open up a lot of news tabs, so I've actually just got one key that just triggers off all of the things that I actually need to do. So what this is doing is actually just opening up tabs which are of interest. So this is the AutoHotKey site. You download the program, it's got some forums, it's been around for a long time, so you can actually, most of the things that you want to do somebody else has done. There's another one called AutoHot Scripts here that is a library of a whole lot of tools. So you can actually go through and look at that and see all these different things that you can do. So there's libraries, there's scripts, and you can see some scripts that do GUI and math and mouse and typing and things like that, some tools and stuff, tutorials and stuff, very useful. There's one called autocorrect. So like that text expander, if you always write TEH instead of THE, it will then, as soon as you hit the space bar, it'll do an autocorrect for you. Then if you're something like dyslexic, and so you always go EDE instead of DEA or something, you can actually do one that's specific for you, and it just adds it to the end of that list, and if those ones occur, it does it. This one's here, another one where you can actually do it does an OCR, so you can grab a bit of an image, or you can do a single line. So if this was actually a screenshot image, it would be able to pull out this line of text, or if you actually pull out all of this and it translates it, or you've got it in different languages, and when you actually capture it, it'll actually talk it and read it to you if you want as well. That actual one which was doing the pop-up menus, which I was using before, so on this one here it's Control F because I'm in here, and the fact that you can get all of these different layers of ones coming through, so that's the third one coming through there. This is one called by Unbelievable, he's called Pie Menu. He's done a very, very smart thing, very good here. Now, I would do some of these and they'd be a little bit buggy because basically I just want a quick fix, do something and actually get a task done. So I'm actually not writing it necessarily to distribute it. And so one of the things that always I was a little bit touchy about AutoHotKey is that I suddenly thought, well, it's not that reliable because you're doing some of the things, it doesn't work. But this tool here, this thing I just absolutely love, and I've never had any problem with it at all. you can actually, it goes and finds difficult paths. So if you're just trying to find information and find different stuff all the way through on the program, you just go through and it just jumps between a whole lot of folders and things like that, so you can go and find your information dead quickly. On it as well, you can also have a whole load of macros, so you've got that you can actually trigger off. You've got snippets. Now, one of the snippets that I actually have that I quite like, that I've been playing with, is let's thinking about that. I don't know why that's got all naffy with me, but that's gone and done a sulk. And we just close that window through there and start it up again, is that I have a full signature coming through. Now, the full signature that I've got is that I've got my signature at the end of an email, and then at the end of the email, if I actually just go in and I do a write through there, I can go into the HTML, I can take the data that's in there and just go full sig, and it drops it out so that I've actually got this with buttons for all of the links that I put through. So I find that's quite a handy one to do, but sometimes I actually only want some other ones. So instead of doing that, I've just got an E3, and if I just go space through there, it just got a simple one. So I can actually just modify those, and that's actually just based on the snippets through there for the signatures that I actually have, depending on what I want to do. I can also just automatically open up a program. So if I'm actually down the bottom, if I just collapse everything to the desktop there and actually just go open up Thunderbird, boom, it opens up the last thing through there, so I can actually go in and do that straight away. So you can open up the program through there without actually coming down, although I tend to work off the taskbar most of the time myself. That's just my own personal preference. But the thing with this is it can do some really nice things quite simply. You know, so it can open up a whole lot of things. You can actually end up with that GUID item through here. There are some little issues about that because I've got this open. So if I've got this open and I just go into this text thing through there, if I try writing the letter 2, you see it pops up into this, and I think if I carry on doing poo, it just cycles through it just cycles through all of my open cycles through the Explorer tabs to see whichever one I've got, and I do end up with a few of these open as well. Now, if I do 3, so I'm just going to go back into the text. So it's actually grabbed those keys. So if I actually just do 1, and then I do 2, now you see the 2 work. So as long as that screen is not on top, or my menu thing is not there, if that menu is there and I try typing 2 again, sorry, if I go back to there and try typing 2, now it just disappears. So it doesn't work. So this is where it's taken those keys. So I've designed this one, or this bit of script, to say, if that's not on top, then that you give the keys back. So therefore, a lot of the times I've got something like 3, which just gives the whole date. Actually, 3 is not a good example. 4 is, because if I do 4, it does that, but it closes that back. It's still there. If I just go F1, it comes back up again, but I haven't closed it. And then I've got the one that triggers off the whole thing. So then I've got another one which will make a button, and similar to what I've got on my email, so that you can just select a link, a URL. You can say what you want on the button, and then it'll write the HTML code for you, and then you can just paste it into an email or something like that. So instead of actually just having a hot link or the URL, you've got a nice little button that somebody can just hit on, and it's given that sort of information through there. So that's one of the ones. Another one, so you can do some quite intelligent things, and some of the programs through there, again, just go and explore them and try them out. The thing which the other thing that I just want to draw your attention to, so I'll actually just exit out of this one here, is the fact that you can make something bespoke. Now, this is a little program that I came across, and I think it's wonderful. So I'm just going to run the script on here. Now, actually, I'm just going to stop that a minute, and the other one. Oh no, I'll do this, and then I'll talk about it later. So this one's running the script. Now, if I use Alt 3, it pops up. It's got my name. It's got the exact time now, and it's got that. So you can do a little timesheet thing, and I can say doing video for AutoHotKey. and I can go OK. Now, if I just go and open up the file, it's going to ask me if I want to update that one because I've got to do a refresh. And you can see that it's very good for doing something like a timesheet. Now, you see how that's written the actual script. So let's just go and look at the script. It's something like 55 lines long with all the brackets and everything. So there's not a lot to it. And what it's doing is it's just sending that information to this text file through there, and it's got a location of where that is. And then it has a GUI, so it's got a pop-up menu and things like that. So if we just go back and look at that GUI, we could actually have a whole lot of buttons for projects that you have in the office. We could also have an INI file so that everybody can choose their own place to store their own file. Or we can actually say, go and store it on a server somewhere and give it your username, and you can associate their username with their company ID, and it will actually make this record thing their company ID. Then you can actually have a whole lot of buttons saying what projects are there and what tasks they're doing in the projects, and then they can associate it with ours, or you can allocate a start time and an end time or something like that and do that sort of thing, and that's an extra bit of information. And again, you can put some other information to explain with people how they're doing that sort of thing. So basically, you can take somebody else's script and you can then tailor it to what your needs are. So this is one of the things that I'm actually finding quite useful, is that I'm finding other people's scripts. And I'm thinking, well, if they can do that, I wonder if I can modify it to make them do this sort of thing. And it's not a particularly complex language to use. And again, one of the things which I quite like about it is the fact that it's been around for a long time. So a lot of the things you want to do, somebody else has actually tried to do. And they've got quite a way along on the thing. And if they haven't found one solution, they've usually found another solution here. And you see they can set the form size, and they can show the settings and do all sorts of things of what they need to do through here. So I love it. It's a nice program. Now, you might find it intimidating, and so that's why I want to come back up into here, because there's this one called Pullover's Macro Creator. So I'm going to pop this one up. I'm just going to File, New, and don't save the existing project. Now, one of the things that you're doing is you're doing keystrokes, or you're typing in a bit of text, or you're going up and pressing a button in a certain location. Now, if you actually have a script going, if you right-hand click on your toolbox and you have a script going, there's a thing called Window Spy. Now, if I come into this window here, it's telling me that I'm actually in the Mozilla Windows class, and I'm actually in Firefox. If I go into this one here, it tells me I'm in Macro Creator, which is an auto thing. If I click onto this one here, it says that I'm in Code, which is Visual Studio Code, and that's what it is. So what it's doing is telling you where that is. And if I move around inside here, it's telling you where the mouse is. Now, I tried using the mouse position on some of this, and I found it really frustrating to do. But this one here, so that's just a tool. I want to highlight that because that almost comes with AutoHotKey. But pull over one, you can actually do this. I'm going to do a window. I want something to actually, a window to make active. And then there's a sub command that we can use, make it always on top. So I can go in and I can bring up Notepad. Now, when I come onto here, I can say, go and get me the title of that window and also the class of that window. I can get the process and the ID and the PID. PID and ID is the ID of this actual pop-up window here. But if you close the program down and you start it again, its ID is going to change. So just be careful about what you're doing. So if I select that, come into here, right-hand click, it's telling me that I'm in Notepad and I'm in this text file here. So that's the actual title. Now that's another dangerous thing with the title, is that it means that you've got to pop up into there. Now if that file isn't opened, this will break. So a lot of the times what you want to do is go into the class and check to see if this is open. And you can say, if this window's open, then go and open this file. So it's saying if this program is open, then go and so we're just going to hit on that, and here we have the thing, and then always on top. And then once you're in there, you can then say, come up to this button and open that one. So we're just going to put this one in here now. So inside Pullover there is a lot of tutorials, and the video tutorials are very, very good. Now inside here we've just written this one command to go and make this window go on top. Now I'm just going to do something here, and this is the AutoHotKey script for it. Now I can save that to export it to an AutoHotKey file through there. So that's quite good. Now if I wanted a mouse position, so I now want a mouse and I want to do a click and a left hand click, normal, and where's the coordinates, so I can actually give some X and Y coordinates. So I'm going to say I want a mouse position, but I want that next down, so I'm actually going to push that down. Push that down. I think I've got to drag it down. So I'm going to window activate this, and I'm going to go and window there. So first of all, I'm just going to click on that again, and this is what I find quite useful. We're going to go back into that one there, and then I want the location of this open file. Now you see on the tool pop-up there, it's given the location of x56y94. So okay, then I'm going to go oh sorry, we'll actually just get out of there. We don't actually need that anymore. So we've made that active. So that command we made active, so I can't remember what it was. We want to make the position click, and the coordinates, so we want to click and apply. We'll just do an apply there, then let me come back into it, and then I can't remember how that one worked. Anyway, if you go through, you'll find out. So it's a left click and normal. I thought I can actually do that. I should be able to click those boxes. Don't know why. We're just doing apply there. Just leave that there. We're just going to run that script, and then what I've actually got to do is that I think I can. I'm not too sure I've got any X and Y's in here. Normally you've just got to go X12, and so I'm actually just going to copy that across into that. It's not letting me write it into this. So a lot of times I'll actually take this, I'll copy this into, and I just go into here and I just go a new file, and I'll call it 123.AutoHotKey, and it automatically sets something up through there, and then I'm going to go left one, and then I'm going to go blast Z, and then I'm going to choose those X and Y coordinates that I actually had through there. So if I go back to Win Activate and go into here, and we had our item there, and I wanted there X61Y87. X61Y87. So we're just going to right hand click out of there and just go OK on that one there. So I've half written that script there. So what I can actually do now is I just do a save, and I'll do a run on that, and sorry, let's drop that down, and I'll run that. So first thing it's done is it's opened that up. Don't know why it's opened that one up. Let's drop that down, and let's just drop that down there again, and we'll do another run of that, and it's blinking something in between. I need sleep 333. It's not, it should be clicking on that, but I haven't quite got it right. But anyway, that's what I end up doing a lot of the times, because you can't, because you're setting up your 1.3. So there's ways of actually testing that. And the nice thing, if you watch his videos, he'll actually choose only maybe, I've lost the other command through there somehow. he can choose, maybe if he's got 17 commands down here, he can just choose 3 or 4 and just test those are working. So if you watch when he's doing it in his videos, he does 2 or 3 lines of code, he'll test them, and then he'll move on. He gets certain things. So he's actually got a very disciplined method of doing it, which I really admire. I tend to write a lot of things and then do a lot of fixing up. Now again, if this is the right way of doing it, now I can actually just go in and do my lookup through AutoHotKey Thingamabob and go mouse position. And it comes out mouse click or mouse get position. So mouse click. And the nice thing, another nice thing with the help from AutoHotKeys is it's usually got demos down the bottom. Now when it's got the demos, you can actually go and take that. So it's left click 55233. So in fact, that's one of the problems that I've got there. And I can actually just put Del through there, and I'm not too sure that I need the 1. It's just saying left click there. So if I go save now and I run that, now it's actually clicking the button. So I'd actually written the code wrong through there. And the nice thing, what I actually find that I do is that I go into the help file and I'll copy a bit of thing and I'll test that little bit out and to see how that works, and then that gives me a bit of understanding. This I find really good because you can learn by example, and these are very little things. And also if you go onto the forum, you'll find that people have lots of little snippets of code that you can just put in and test it within your code as to what you actually want it to do. So I hope that's been of interest to you. And the other thing with this is that, you know, if you use something like Phase Express, or you use something like Copy Texty, or you do this, or you use the title bar one that pops up, all of these are different apps that give you a certain amount of freedom that do some things. This one, you can actually design it inside your Windows environment, because if you actually see what it actually says on the blurb for AutoHotKeys, the ultimate automation scripting language for Windows, and it's been around for a long time. A lot of gamers use it because they can speed up a lot of their things, like their mouse clicks like that. They can just have it stuck down so it's continuously clicking one thing, and they'll have hotkeys for all of those sorts of stuff. And you get people like who want to do a bot for Facebook with 1,000 likes, where they just go onto different pages or something like that and just keep on clicking the heart, logging out, logging back in again, and keep on clicking a heart on something just to do things to get people's numbers on. And again with now Amazon and products and things like that. So it's been used in some quite poor ways, but it doesn't mean that you can't use it in a good way. So and I just find it for myself personally, I've just used the stuff. As I said, I stepped back away from it because a lot of when I was trying to do something a little bit more sophisticated, it was breaking a bit more. And then I thought, well, it's not something that I'd want to share with other people. The other thing that I just want to make a point of with this is that if I just go in and find some scripts through here, one of the things I was talking about compiling, and somebody made quite an intelligent comment about it, we go up another level, is that there's a script here that's been compiled, closeall script. So it's actually a script that's been compiled into an exe one. Now I'm just going to edit with Notepad++. Because it's been compiled, it's in ASCII text, or it's been compiled into machine code or whatever, so it runs as fast as it damn well can. And that's fine, but if you go right down to the very bottom of the file, you will find the actual script itself, some of it is legible. So the compilers that they actually normally use to compile the script, although it's 90% of it is all there, your code is actually able to be seen in clear. So don't put things like passwords in there. So what you would end up doing is, if you're automating something, you get it to the point where it does the password, and then you do a pop-up box. So you actually put the password in. So that one's got a loop in there to actually do a win close on everything, all programs. So that's what it's actually doing. It ends up being a massive file because they've got to add an awful lot of AutoHotKey stuff in there so that it's transportable and it's self-contained. but just be aware of that thing of if you're doing something, don't put your passwords in there. Allow for a pop-up to do that or get it to go and read another file to get the password. So what it does is it gets to a certain point, it goes across and gets that information from another one and then does it. So if you're doing something like an automation of stuff that you're doing overnight, where you're copying and pasting stuff across into a web form, and you're having to do a lot of details, and you've got a CSV file and it's just reading line by line and punching the data in, or doing something like that, and you're suddenly saying, well, I'll just go home now and I'm still working, and it'll do all of that stuff there. Just be aware of that anyway. So it's transportable. It works across a lot of things. So whereas something like Excel will have VBA that works inside Excel, Excel VBA scripts won't work outside of Excel. So this is the nice essence of AutoHotKey. Now the other little demonstration that I just want to do through here is one that I've been doing. So I've just got to go back and see if it's actually working at this point in time. And this is the WhatsApp program that I've got, and I've got a QR code in here, and if I scan that QR code, it's not doing it, and I think I might have, yeah, no, it's just written it into there. I've got one of my scripts down through here, and it's this one here. So I'm just going to close that and go save. I don't know why it's not doing it at this point in time. Is that I have my mouse in here and I run that. I've got my mouse inside here and it's still not doing. What it should be doing, it should be reading that ASCII code, which is what that code is there. I just better make sure that that is in fact the right code that I'm actually scanning to. Just go V and then just go double colon through there. So that's the code that I'm doing through there. And when I just save that one there, so this one here, when I read that barcode there, it should be in this form here. It shouldn't actually, I don't think it should be doing it. It should do the beep and it should be saying that this has been scanned. So, but it's actually, so there. So the thing has been scanned, and for some unknown reason, it's writing stuff inside here, which it shouldn't do. So, and so there you can see it's doing something. A string has been scanned through there. So for some unknown reason, it's jumping back into this one here. I don't know. I think I should actually just run this script from here. So if I just run the script, oh, sorry. I come into here and I just go into working, and if I come to the bottom and I run it from there, then if I run it inside of got to come to there, and there it's actually popping up, so it's actually running the program as what it should. So this is an issue which I actually have with the barcode scanner. Now the story behind this is that I was watching a video and somebody was saying that there was somebody who was looking after animals. Now they had the animals in cages and they were giving them feeding at a certain time, so they could actually use the barcode scanner on the cage number to get the name of the animal or the details of the animal. They could then do a scan on the time when they were actually given the feed. They could then say what the meal was and they could do a scan on that, and then they could actually do a scan on maybe the condition, looking good, restless, uncomfortable or whatever, so that they could actually get a whole lot of data very quickly from about 4 very, very quick scans of just pulling a button and doing something, and it populated forms. And I thought this was a really good, efficient way of actually doing a whole lot of reporting and gathering an awful lot of data for a simple form. So using this, but one of the problems is that if you've got this, you need to be in the right program to be and in the right cell, so that when you actually scan something, it scans. That first one is actually saying that I've just woken up. That it then scans and puts the data into the thing there, and it's doing the same trick through there. So you've got the right barcode through there. So I needed something that would run. If I actually just did a barcode, it would activate a script, which I now found that it can with AutoHotKey scripts. It'll activate a script. It will open up a program. It will open up a specific file in that program. It will go, if it's a sheet, it will open up a specific tab in that program. If there is a whole lot of things, it will go and find the last filled row or the first empty row, and it will append data across there. So maybe it's pulling data and it can do a lookup. So those are items, and in the receive one, if I actually just put some data in here, copy B, not doing it there, close, V, copy, V, something's happening, paste values only. It should populate information from other sheets as well. So it's populating that from the other one. So it's doing a lookup based on that one scan barcode. You can pull a lot of information through there based on that. So this is the idea of using the barcode scanner to actually efficiently pull information through. And so that's why I'm interested. And AutoHotKey allows me, or I think will allow me to do this. So I've now got to build the script that allow me to do that, because I actually have a dongle in here, or in fact I can do it with my phone, is that I can Bluetooth across to here. I can scan something like plants. I can see when they were watered. I can put a time in for that, and then if I give them fertilizer or something like that, and then I can start measuring the height. So I can quickly get data quite quickly. Another one that I'm actually thinking about using it for is also for something like my freezer inventory. So for what I take out and use, so that I can make sure I keep the inventory up as what I require. So I'm finding that AutoHotKey is actually very versatile. You can make it very bespoke. It works across a whole lot of different things. If you've got something with a text field in it, it works on nearly anything with a text field in it. If you have a spreadsheet type things, operations in one spreadsheet type thing, like into a table in a database, into the Revit schedules into that, and into an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, it'll work across all of those. So you get one idea in the process, and it works the same. And it's shareable with other people when you've got the things robust. And as I said, the one thing that I was put off by was its lack of robustness. But when I see a program as sophisticated as this, I suddenly thinking, no, it can be very robust, although it's hopping across and not using, like it's working in Excel or it's working in Google Script. It's working in Google Sheets, but it's not using the gas. So it's not using Java app scripts to do the stuff. It's actually just using a different methodology of doing things. And it's not using Excel VBA. And it's not using Revit, C# and stuff like that. But I'm able to move data around by doing it. So I'm actually dead keen to get on with it a bit more. And I actually think because it has quite a friendly interface, it starts off pretty simple, just with simple hotkeys and stuff like that. Now, again, one of the things with a hotkey is if you start off very early and you do have a hotkey going through there, if I just type run through here and type shell startup, it shows you, it goes into @data roaming, etc., but if you look at the very end, it's actually going into program startup. Now, if you've got a script, you put a shortcut to that script. So you don't put the script into here, you put a shortcut to that script into here. So every time you reboot up the computer, it'll run those scripts. So that means when you shut down and you log off and you re-log off and log on again, it reloads those scripts for you automatically. So they're there ready to go. You don't put your scripts into here because it's a long way to go and find them. So it's better to actually have them in somewhere. So if you want to tweak them, they're accessible. You can add something else. You can give it a little test if it works fine. So I normally have two. I normally have something like mkeys test and an mkeys. And if I've found another bit of a program or something that I want to add to it, I'll put it in the test one and run that for a couple of days. And if that works, then I'll put it into the main script that I use. So, and also I've got to carry on making sure that I remember things. So I think it can be a very, very good productivity tool. It's open source. There's an awful lot of information out there, and you don't actually have to be that much of a coder. You can work off recording. Oh, and that was another thing. Within this one here, you can do a macro record. So you can actually record a macro where you go in and you do some things, and you may need to actually just adjust the script accordingly, but it'll actually do those things for you as well. So you can start off by just doing a record and then slowly refining, learning the code to do and which ones they're actually doing. Like you've got a win activate and then a win set, or you've got a win show, or you've got a win hide, and you've got all of these, and depending on how those commands go through. So it's all for the window. Do I want the window on the top or the window on the bottom? And then the naming conventions and things. And the only way that you're going to learn those sorts of things is to actually borrow somebody else's scripts, run the things, try and do similar things yourself, and carry on learning until you do get what you want. But I think it's been around for a long while, and it's still working. 765. It's been working for a lot of Windows programs because it was built based on the AutoHot. This one went a hotkeys way. That one went, I think, in a more programmatic way, with more sort of building a new computer from scratch and putting in the right software and putting in the right codes that might be needed in places. This is more adaptable and more flexible. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope that's been of use to you. If you found it useful, please give a thumbs up. Thank you.